everybody, and welcome back to Command & Conquer 3 Kane's Wrath, and our featured matchup for the day brings us to the map Tournament Airstrip. And spawning on the far left-hand side as the red GDI, we have Kimosabe. And sliding over to the far right-hand side, his opponent for today as the green Blackhand, we have Technique. So here we go. It's going to be Tournament Airstrip, a map that I almost never get to see because, well, hey, it's not one of the original 9 maps or the remakes thereof, so people very infrequently playing on these maps, at least high-level matches that we get to see posted over on Game Replays. So if you guys do end up playing any matches over on some of these different maps, please be sure to post them over on Game Replays. They don't necessarily have to be the highest level play, but all the same, seeing some new maps is pretty interesting. But anyways, getting into this match, it is going to be GDI versus Blackhand, a classic matchup, if there is one. And it looks like just a single Rifleman squad going to be getting gunned down there by a Confessor Cabal squad. Confessor Cabal squad could actually potentially kill this Engineer. Doesn't look like... Ooh, this is going to be close, actually. Technique could commit to trying to kill this, but very nice foxhole here from Kimosabe to just get in here and be a nuisance and really just prevent any potential follow-up capture here from Technique unless he decides to commit to go with some kind of a flame or maybe send some bikes over to destroy the little bunker there. But anyways, looks like we do have a Pitbull taking a little bit of damage here from the Garrison grabbed by Technique on the top side. So tip spike advantage right now over to Kimosabe. However, Flame Tank going to be getting spotted here by Kimosabe. He's going to have plenty of time to react to that. However, now a bike out for Technique, going to be chasing down the Pitbull and actually going to be returning back to base as the bikes can only withstand one shot, or rather 2 shots from those Pitbulls before they go down, and the Pitbulls on the other hand can withstand, I think, 2 or 3 shots, probably actually 3 or 4 shots now that I think about it. But anyways, it looks like the Blackhand squad from the sold off Operations Center are going to be sent down to de-garrison that building. And actually the Pitbull does go down here, so the Flame Tank going to be claiming itself a Pitbull kill. Not something that you ever want to see, but very nice micro here from Kimosabe, going to be able to kill off that bike that came in, but the Tiberium Spike going to be getting burned down here for Kimosabe, so not going to be able to keep that under his own control. Nice micro here from Kimosabe to actually do the damage to this Flame Tank without allowing it to do any damage in return. This is exactly what you want to be seeing in this situation. And he's going to continue to commit forward. Let's see, is he able to get the Flame Tank? Oh, he's stacking up so heavily right there. Both of the Pitbulls do go down. That's not a good situation. 3 Pitbulls being claimed by that Flame Tank, so even if it doesn't manage to get across the map, I think it's going to be enough to probably cause Kimosabe some problems here. He has packed up and gone for the expand. In the meantime, it looks like Technique... did he go all in? No, okay, his MCV is down on the expansion here, but he is a little bit behind that Flame Tank, buying him a little bit more time to keep those Pitbulls at bay. A little bit of infantry spammed out here from Kimosabe as well. Must be looking to come forward and put some pressure on this blue Tiberium field, as it's not going to be able to do anything against the flame weaponry. But anyways, it looks like Technique going to be pulling away with a Harvester here that's full of blue Tiberium. About half full, that is. Now the Pitbull going to be getting shot up here. Unfortunately, Technique going to be losing a bike for that, but going to be paying for it with a second bike, but he will get away with his Harvester there, just a little over half HP. But going to be getting away with a half of a tank of blue Tiberium there, so going to be feeling pretty good about that. And in the meantime, I think Kimosabe is going to return with a little over a half of a tank of blue Tib for himself. Could have potentially stuck around for a little bit longer and collected a couple more crystals, but I think he's worried about the follow-up bikes here from Technique, and understandable at that. So Pitbull's continuing to roam around the map here, more than likely looking for any bikes that are floating around on the map, and also just keeping the pressure up on Technique. Let's see what the transition is going to be here for Kimosabe. It is going to be more eco here for Kimosabe, and it looks like he did lose a Pitbull in the meantime. On the top side of the map, we do have the Flame Tank returning once again, going to be able to eat up all of that infantry. Again, Flame Tank's not exactly, or rather infantry, not exactly the greatest counter to flame weaponry, as it's their natural enemy. Double refinery down here from Technique, so not a whole lot in the way of production here from Technique. Interestingly enough, I would have thought that he would have gone for heavy production, but it seems like he's more content with playing this one out eco-wise. I think we did just see a second War Factory coming down here, realizing that he wants to commit to more forces on the field. More than likely, bike buggy going to be coming out for Technique. He could have opted to go into tech here, but opting to go for more aggression, not terribly shocking. It is going to be a straight-up Predator tank transition here for Kimosabe, and actually we do have the command post down as well, and this is going to be really good. Getting that AP ammo out, we could potentially see hammerheads as well, and see AP ammo, hammerheads, and Predator tanks, a pretty nasty combination if there ever was one. But we do have bikes and buggies going to be rolling in here, looking to go harvester hunting, but Kimosabe is all over this. He has his Predator tanks in position. A second War Factory going to be coming down. Actually, is that a third War Factory coming down for Kimosabe? So, and he's actually going to be raiding with some Pitbulls. He's going to be able to get himself a harvester kill if he micros this properly. Nice pull here from Technique, going to be trying to save this harvester. And he also gets some cheeky pathing here, trying to send this harvester back and around and take the path of most resistance there for those Pitbulls. But Flame Tank going to be moving in here for Technique, and he's not going to be able to do too much damage. It looks like the refinery was laser fenced as well, so going to be able to tank a bit more damage, even if it was forced to take quite a bit more. So very interesting, but it looks like Rifleman Squad going to be running up to the top side of the map, more than likely just to get eyes on what's going on with this blue field. Should be getting cleaned up here by the bike buggy here from Technique as it's rolling across the middle. Predator tank's going to be moving around the map here for Kimosabe. He has a lot of Predator tanks. Holy cow. He's been spamming Predator tanks off of 3 War Factories here. And the problem is once that wall gets large enough, it's going to be so hard for Technique to find an opening. But it looks like the Black Hand Squad here from Technique has managed to make its way all the way into the expansion of Kimosabe. But Kimosabe going to be using one of his harvesters to actually kill off that Black Hand Squad. So nice pickup there for Kimo, but very interesting that Technique was able to get that all the way over there. Anyways, it looks like Guard Tower here just going to be shooting up some of the Predator tanks here from Kimosabe, but really just going to be tickling them, as these Predator tanks can tank a ridiculous amount of gun damage before taking anything meaningful. Small pocket of bike buggy here, actually a fairly meaningful pocket of bike buggy here from Technique, going to be moving into the original main base of Kimosabe. Going to be very sorely disappointed to not see very much in the way of harvesters, and by that I mean absolutely none on the main field. As we can see, they've all been transitioned down to the bottom side. However, huge Scorpion tank transition here coming in from Technique, so it looks like it is going to be Predator tanks versus Scorpion tanks in this game. More and more of these bikes going to be roaming around, a couple of them with veteran ranks, and they may actually get themselves a harvester kill here. They do get themselves a harvester kill, and now the bulk of the forces here from Technique are going to commit into this expansion. Doesn't look like the focus fire is too good here. Going to be focusing down the harvesters. Actually, that one harvester going to be skating away with just a tiny bit of HP, and it looks like Technique may try to repurpose his army to try to commit to killing that. But very messy fight here from Technique. I think he overcommitted and underestimated Kimosabe's Predator tank force, and now he is going to be paying for it with a lot of his Scorpion tanks. So numbers advantage in favor of Technique, but power advantage in favor of Kimosabe. And Technique took some pretty critical damage in that fight. He lost a lot of Scorpion tanks there. He did manage to thin the numbers of Kimosabe a little bit and do some eco damage, but not going to be enough. A couple of these Predator tanks pretty heavily damaged, actually 2 of them extremely heavily damaged, and one of them is veteran status as well. So if he is going to take them along for the ride, it would be better to send them to the back. That actually looked like an engineer. Is Technique all in? Technique is all in. He is quad War Factory Scorpion tank spam right now. Pretty unreal. So he is, that engineer was from the sold off MCB, and now it is going to be Kimosabe moving in. But Technique does simply have superior numbers here because of the MCD cell. He's just able to smash out so many tanks. And now you can see Kimosabe just getting caught here. Look at the concave here from Technique. Just absolutely textbook concave, and he's just smashing these tanks. You can see the majority of the tanks on the back line here for Kimosabe not even getting an opportunity to fire. I think Kimosabe again underestimated Technique in this situation, or rather was the person to underestimate this time around, as we do see Technique winning this battle pretty handily. Once these Predator tanks are down here for Kimosabe, I don't know what he's going to be able to do to recover in this game, because we have more and more reinforcements coming in from Technique. I wonder if Kimosabe realizes at this point that Technique is all in. As we do see AP ammo watchtowers being dropped now. Maybe Kimosabe thinking that he was going to be facing an infantry force, but just a super mass wall of tanks here from Technique. And a kind of ridiculous amount of tanks here from Technique, in fact. And he's just going to continue to spam that out. Going to be getting crushes here on this barracks, so the barracks production should be halted there for Kimosabe, as it's not really going to be able to do anything. He's just going to be losing those units pretty much straight up right away. War factories and barracks being dropped here on the front lines for Kimosabe, more than likely signaling that he's cutting production back at home. But let's take a look and see what's going on here. It looks like a Rifleman squad in the mix here. Going to be cutting off the Confessor Cabal squads that are trying to join the battle here. But Kimosabe continuing to get pushed back here by the superior numbers here of Technique. So just sheer brute force here from Technique. He doesn't even have any upgrades. We don't even have dozer blades on these tanks, which would make them even more deadly, being able to tank a few more shots from these Predator tanks. But he's now going to look to camp the War Factory here on the front lines here. And the MCV just being completely bypassed. Technique realizing that there's really no opportunity here for Kimosabe to try and hold this off. And now the Eco going to be under fire here. Kimosabe looking to be in dire straits despite having what I would consider an early game advantage, but Technique just selling that MCV, making such a difference here. Now all of these Harvesters going down. I really don't see what the win condition is here for Kimosabe. He is sticking this one out. He does have a number of rocket squads out on the map from those couple of barracks that he had here on the front lines. He's managing to thin the numbers of the Scorpion tanks, and it's down below that critical mass now, so he might be able to hold a line if he just continues to get out some defensive forces. But Technique just seemingly pumping Scorpion tanks onto the front lines with just regular efficiency here, and going to be trying to take down the barracks, and he should be able to take down the remainder of the barracks here for Kimosabe. It looks like Kimosabe forced to sell up his own MCV in this situation. More than likely already did lose the engineer as well. A bit unfortunate for him, but not going to matter all that much. So interesting that Kimosabe decided to respond to this by selling his own MCV. At least I have to imagine that's how things went down. But anyways, Technique now going to be continuing to commit forward towards these Predator tanks here that are overextended from Kimosabe. Not much in the way of support here from Kimosabe. He's going to try to cut down a couple of these Scorpion tanks, but Technique at this stage in the game is okay with taking bad trades because he's just put Kimosabe so far behind. But now with the sold off MCV, Kimosabe will have a bit more production capability here. He is struggling a bit for eco. He does have a fair bit of green Tiberium fields left on his main that he could be looking to harvest back up. Send a couple of more harvesters up there. It will also put them in a safer position. But then again, Technique could transition into a couple of bikes and cause some problems here for Kimosabe. But these guys just not willing to give up on this game here, and the Scorpion tanks continuing to be spammed out here for Technique. And Kimosabe going to try to kite this one out, but he's taking one-for-one trades here and actually taking a really bad trade in this situation, losing a lot of Predator tanks here for not many of these Scorpion tanks going down for Technique. So very, very good trading here from Technique, which is exactly what he wants to be seeing. A couple more of the Scorpion tanks going to get picked off here as they retreat. And the Predator tank's going to come forward once again, looking to cut off the remainder of them here. Just trying desperately to keep the numbers down so that they're not too large of a force to commit into. And more and more of those reinforcements coming onto the front lines. Again, Kimosabe just not transitioning away from this, and same thing with Technique. I mean, he just doesn't see any reason to transition away from this. Bike buggy would not be all that great. He might be able to get in around, take out some harvesters, but it's really these Predator tanks that he needs to deal with. And now it is just a complete surround here from Technique. He's going to take quite a bit of losses, but he just has so many tanks. Actually, no, I think Technique has actually overstepped his bounds here. Kimosabe, if he's able to focus fire these tanks down, he may have enough. No, there's just too many tanks here from Technique, and actually a heroic missile squad, not something you see every day, really causing problems here for Technique as it cleans up almost the remainder of those Scorpion tanks. But again, just more and more of these tanks pouring onto the front lines for Technique, and only a couple of tanks here left for Kimosabe. He is back up to about 4 on the front lines and does still have refining back at home. So this game is not over yet, but just relentless trading between these forces here, and Kimosabe just not willing to play defensive. He just continues to push forward, and I think he's taking bad trades here. He should just bide his own time, allow his Predator tank force to mass back up. I think he's concerned about letting Technique do his own thing, as he will realize that he's going to send a small contingent of those Scorpion tanks up to the top side of the map and look to clean up that original base. And if he loses this refinery and a couple of power plants, that would be pretty bad situations here for Kimosabe. He does have 2 upgraded power plants in his first expansion, though, so that's actually pretty good to hold on to. But again, not sure where this harvester is headed. It looks like it's running away with a half load of Tiberium back up to the original main. So a bit unfortunate harvester pathing here from Kimosabe, but again, the trading just relentless here, and a harvester going down there for Technique. That's not what he wants to be seeing at this stage in the game. Those harvesters so critical to keep alive, and it is just going to be this straight up tank battle here And it looks like Kimosabe going to try to commit forward again, and he's going to get himself a couple more Scorpion tanks for that push. But more and more of these harvesters going to be coming onto the front lines. I think Technique has realized what he needs to do in this game. He's spammed out a couple of bikes here. It looks like he's got about 5 or 6 bikes. Going to be sending them up to the original main here of Kimosabe, realizing that there's probably a lot of eco going on here with not a lot in the way of defense. And it looks like Kimosabe's also been long-distance harvesting the blue Tiberian field. No, that's in fact Technique. But Kimosabe does have a decent number of Predator tanks here now, and Technique does need to be a little bit wary. A lot of harvesters coming forward. The Scorpion tanks are completely out of position. All of the harvesters are going to have to be pulled, and 1 or 2 of them may go down. A Predator tank a little bit too far forward will probably get picked off here by Technique. This may actually signal to Technique to move forward. Look at the concave. Just such great positioning here from Technique. As you can see that he just gets this superior concave every single time. And 4 or 5 of those tanks not even firing here for Kimosabe. And you can see these bikes on the back lines managed to pick off both of the harvesters and will commit into the remainder of the harvesters here for Kimosabe. So that remaining harvester there going to be going down. So Technique going to be committing into this base now, realizing that he's killed off all of the other harvesters. If he can just come in here and deal a final killing blow here to Kimosabe, I think he should be able to claim a victory here in this game. However, War Factory Repair is going to be coming out on the front lines, and that's going to give the critical extra shots to these Predator tanks that they will need. But the bikes come in, and the fire sale is coming in from Kimosabe. This is very likely it, and Kimosabe has been defeated, and Technique comes through victorious. Wow, just a straight-up slugfest in that game. Neither player looking to transition out of it. Technique finally pulling the plug on that tank v tank battle and sending a couple of bikes around to snipe the harvesters of Kimosabe. A very smart transition there from Technique, realizing that he had the superior number of Scorpion tanks, that if he wanted to fight tank versus tank, he still had enough so he could produce a couple of bikes off of that extra War Factory and not be too far behind on the front lines. And manages to come through victorious. So just, I think, superior trading coming in from Technique, despite what we see from the unit KD ratio. I mean, Kimosabe, his Predator tank's a bit more expensive, a bit more damage output, but I think Technique, even with the larger numbers, was still trading really, really effectively with Kimosabe. So just a very, very interesting game. A very technical set of engagements where Kimosabe just got drawn in a couple of points, where Technique was able to get this huge surround. Technique almost flubbing this entire game by almost getting all of his harvesters sniped in one shot, because a lot of the harvesters were stacked up on top of each other just as the Scorpion tanks had been pulled off of the front lines, and that would have allowed those Predator tanks to get a couple of volleys off and splash damage down a lot of those harvesters. Luckily, Technique able to capitalize on that and use it as kind of a bait and switch move and use his superior concave of Scorpion tanks to take down Kimosabe. But anyways, that's going to be it for this game. Let's take a quick look at the resources tab. It looks like, let me see if I can do the math right this time around, it looks like about 6,000 credits in favor of Kimosabe in terms of economy. So Kimosabe had the better eco in this game, and you can see it was actually true for the entire game, despite the fact that Technique did sell his MCV pretty early on. But again, I think this kind of shows that the trading was really over in favor of Technique, just choosing the right engagements, getting some nice concaves, getting those crucial trades that he needed, and then also just following up at the end to deal the killing blow with those bikes around the perimeter of the bases of Kimosabe and just sniping harvesters that were completely undefended. He knew that Kimosabe had to mass all of his forces on the front lines just to hold Technique back, so that he knew that he would be able to walk in undefended everywhere else. So very, very smart play here from both sides, actually. Unfortunately, Kimosabe just taking a couple of bad engagements, and that one kind of determined the course of that game. But anyways, that's going to be it here for me today, folks. I hope you all enjoyed the game, and I'll catch you all next time.